My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be Ella Montgomery Video 3, Chapter 1, Simultaneous Time. So here is my novel, Ella Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield. That's a photograph of the historical Canadian author Ella Montgomery in about 1938. So, in 1938, with another world war looming and her own personal problems threatening to overwhelm her, acclaimed Canadian author Ella Montgomery begins to write what she has decided will be her final Anne novel. As she works on the new book, she recalls the days when Anne of Green Gables became a worldwide literary phenomenon and the dilemma that she faced at that time. The dilemma? Whether to write a series of novels in which Anne would perpetually remain the child the world had come to know and love, or to allow Anne to grow to adulthood with all the agonizing torments of the one who had given her life, L.M. Montgomery. So do you keep your child as a child in a happy little world, or do you let your child grow up in a world that can be quite unkind? Well, most of us don't have that choice, but if you're an author and your child is a character, you do have that choice. Okay, so we're dealing with 3 novels, and I'll hold them all up just to keep things clear as I read other things. My novel, as I've already shown you, is Ella Montgomery, I Gave You Life. So in my novel, Ella Montgomery is a character in 1938. In 1938, she's writing her own novel, Anne of Ingleside. The last novel she will write, she insists to herself, in which Anne is a character. While planning and writing this novel, Anne of Ingleside, in 1938, her mind takes her back, Ella Montgomery's mind takes her back to the days in 1905 when she conceived of and wrote Anne of Green Gables, the first Anne novel in which Anne appears. Okay, so hopefully that'll keep things clear. 3 novels on the go here. In video 1 of the Ella Montgomery presentations, I read only the present moment thoughts of the main character of Chapter 1 of 16 Chapters of Thought. In video 2 of the Ella Montgomery presentations, I read only the past thoughts of the main character of Chapter 1 of her 16 Chapters of Thought. Now in this video reading, I'm going to read all of what I call the action-thought minor cycle of Chapter 1, which will include the present and past thoughts as they interlayer in the mind of the main character, sparking off each other as they interact in the mind. So if you think of 2 novels at the same time, they spark off each other because they interact. Every word of this novel is an image in the mind of the main character. Something tells L.M. Montgomery to think her way through the present while examining the imagery of a similar situation from the past. Something tells her that this is the best way to move forward. At the present moment, she's engaged in the act of writing a new novel with Anne Shirley as a character. The new novel will be Anne of Ingleside. In the past, 33 years before, Ella Montgomery was engaged in writing the first novel in which Anne Shirley was a character. That novel was called Anne of Green Gables. So let's have a look at the mind of Ella Montgomery as she compares and contrasts the 2 writing experiences. So let's go to Chapter 1, page 3. Okay, so 1938. This will be the final Anne novel. Not the last Anne novel. That has already been written. No, this will be the final novel about Anne of Green Gables that I shall write. This one will come about the middle, not at the end. Anne will be somewhere in the middle of her life. Okay, now that conjures up, I guess we can say, a 1905 memory, but it's in present tense because it's so vivid. I have an idea for a story about an orphan. I see red hair. She's riding on a buggy with a sorrel mare. She's riding beside a man, an elderly man who strikes me as kind but quite perplexed. The girl is not what he had expected her to be. Okay. Now a 1938 thought. Why did I not write the Anne novels in order? Well, I had no desire to write any of them at all. Each one was, you might say, a product of necessity. Yes, necessity is a word that I would employ. Now another 1905 memory. An elderly couple, an orphan asylum, an application for a boy to do the chores around the farm. By mistake, a girl is sent. She's the girl who rides in the buggy. He'll be Matthew, the man in the buggy. The girl will be the reason for the frown. Okay, back to 1938, the present moment. I never wanted to keep giving her life. I did not want to extend her life. I fought so hard to keep her young. Who'd I fight against, you ask? Well, the most formidable fight of my life was with Anne. Then a 1905 memory. Her name is Anne, Anne with an E. She's talking as Matthew drives. She's opening up a world. Every word that comes from her lips I can hear in her voice. Anne is as alive to me as I am to myself. I am her, and she is me. We are as close as any two souls could possibly be. We are writing her life together, Anne and I. And then a 1938 memory, or thought, present moment thought. Yes, I already have a title. Yes, it will certainly bear the name Anne. Anne of Ingleside has a ring that will fall quite nicely, I believe, on thousands of ears. And now a 1905 memory. Why not write her as a novel? Anne is as real to me as me. She is alive here on the island. All the places and people I know. Every situation and every incident. She has an attitude to life that has always been stifled in me. She is bursting out of my bosom. Anne is all the stillborn Mauds I see in me. She is too good to waste on a story for a magazine. Okay, then we go to a fifth segment of the two thoughts paired, the present moment experience and the memory. 1938. I've been jotting down notes for the adventures of Anne's brood. I shall make more notes for these episodes as I go along. 1905 memory. Blocking out the chapters. Incident, characters, ending, challenge, action, response. Situation 1, situation 2, situation 3. Writing furiously in my notebook, sitting and brooding and writing again. I can put Anne in any incident, any challenge, or any concern. I know exactly what she will say and what she will do. Lover's Lane, Shining Waters, every blossom on every tree. Anne is me coming alive as another me. Then a sixth segment in which we have a 1938 moment. A kindred spirit? A kindred spirit? Yes, Anne has been my very own kindred spirit, certain enough, more than any other human being could possibly be. She's been with me for 33 years. She was there when my whole life changed. She was the cause of my great life change. Becoming an author, becoming a wife, becoming another kind of Maud. Then a 1905 memory. One last read. From first to last before I send my Anne away. One more visit before I send her out into the world. Closing my eyes after I read the final page. As soul-mated as author and character could possibly be. A publisher. Well, looking over my shelf of books. L.C. Page, 200 Summer Street, Boston, USA. What will he think when he reads these words? I wrap the package and tie the string and lick the stamps. I put my Anne on the counter, hidden carefully amid the outgoing mail. And then the seventh segment in which we see both present and past, hear both present and past. We're overhearing the thoughts of L.M. Montgomery. So, 1938. Certainly Anne is my kindred spirit, but there's more to the riddle than that. At times Anne has been more me than me. At times I've walked alone where Anne has not gone. Anne is more than a kindred spirit. Anne is less than a kindred spirit. Anne is me, and Anne is not me. We've been lifelong friends and foes, Anne and me. And then 1905, sorting out the mail, a letter from L.C.P., the Boston publisher. Is there more of Anne in my pen? Of course I shall write about my Anne. She is me in my better moments. She is me at the height of my reach. She is the better self who keeps the true flame of my soul. Then the last segment, in which we get 1938 first and then 1905. 1938, but I've decided the end is the end. This is the final novel for Anne. I am putting Anne behind me, for better or worse. Anne of Ingleside will be the final word. Then a last memory from 1905 in this chapter of thought. A contract for Anne of Green Gables, an invitation to write a whole series of Anne novels. I can't believe that this has happened. I'm just a girl from the island. Now my Anne will have a full life. Now she will live between the covers of a series of books. I had feared that she would be confined on a shelf in a hat box. I can hardly wait to give the good news to Anne. Now, we humans think our way through life. We think most consciously of our present moment experiences. The present moment contains both the anticipated rewards and the feared dangers of what we are doing and what is happening to us. The solving of present problems is the task of the day, but something tells us that we should not go into the future with only thoughts of the present moment. Something tells us that as we go into the future, we will benefit by searching through the layers of time in our minds for similar situations to that in which we find ourselves at the present moment. Something tells us that if we consider the parallels and the contrasts in the past moment and present moment situations, we'll be better equipped to make the decisions about which we have some choice and to make the reactions about which we have some choice in order to better get ourselves through the day, the month, the year, and the rest of our lives. Now, it's my further contention that at the deepest levels of our minds, we humans think in imagery. So what we have then in chapter 1 of this novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, in fact, what we have in all 16 chapters of thought in the mind of the main character, L.M. Montgomery, is not the thoughts of L.M. Montgomery, but the imagery which is seeking to generate thought in her mind. We have imagery from the time, the present, of the writing of the novel Anne of Ingleside, and we have imagery from the time, the past, of the writing of the novel Anne of Green Gables. We realize that the mind of L.M. Montgomery is making comparisons and contrasts as it considers these two life experiences. As readers, we do not have a summary of the thoughts that occur to her as she considers the juxtaposition of these images. The poetic novel is not set at the level of the mind or at the time in the story at which all imagery has been considered and all conclusions have been drawn. That is why the poetic novel is not written in the past tense. The poetic novel is set in the continuous present at a time when all imagery is being considered and all conclusions are strictly tentative. The conclusions will come, if at all, in what I call the after novel, the after-novel. That is when we readers set the novel down and go on with our lives knowing that the most pertinent images in the novel are now part of our thoughts as well, available for us to juxtapose these images with the imagery of our own life experience. So once again, this is my novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield. It's found on Amazon if you want more information. It's found on my publisher's website, rocksmillspress.com, ROCKSMILLSPRESS.com, where there's more information. On my website, johnpassfield.ca, there's the planning notebook, a full book for free access. Just click on the icon, and a reflective journal, a full book, again for free access if you click on the icon. So have a look at those two books if you're interested. Lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.